Huey. Hi. I'm a medical caretaker for a depressed man named Huey. For the past few years or so, I've lived with him and tended to whatever needs he might have. Needs that have grown more numerous as time has gone by. He used to be a day trader who made a pretty good amount of money with some unique trading strategies. It's not like he was rich or anything, but he made more than enough to keep me employed and to satisfy his addiction. As much as I wanted to help him with that addiction, it was the only thing I wasn't allowed to address. All I could do was tend to him and try to minimize the harm as best I could. I knew the time would come when I'd just have to stand back and watch, helpless. Huey awoke to the dull white noise that signified his eventual transcendence. He rolled out of bed and, quite literally, as his girth had ballooned over the last 9 years to a hair under 500 pounds. His knees and ankles were terrifically swollen. The ligaments and joints had undergone immense stress because of the weight gain. Had the day come a year later, there would have been a chance that he wouldn't even be able to walk. But walk he did, into his kitchen. From the window he saw a brownish-black mass outside. The mayflies had finally arrived. They had arrived in numbers that even he had refused to hope for. Here they were though, in the flesh, and they would soon be his. Huey has a compulsive ingester. He needed to feel full. His body constantly felt like a gaping maw, and his life had been spent trying, but ultimately failing, to relieve the physical feeling of emptiness. But today, this would end. He recognized how his failures had been the result of a small, pitifully average mouth. To fill a hole quickly, the opening had to be much larger. And the more openings there were, the faster it would go. Huey stripped naked and stepped out into the front yard. He carried a large chef's knife. He opened his mouth as wide as he could while inhaling deeply. Flies filled his mouth, and he chewed and swallowed. To him, this felt like an eyedropper attempting to fill an ocean. He was ready. First, he opened the corners of his mouth with his blade, creating a ghastly rictus that exposed his entire dental system. His mouth could achieve a wider position now, and the flies filled it in greater numbers. Next, he took the tip of the blade and began to unhinge his lower mandible. This took work, and Huey was no surgeon. This didn't matter much to him. The longer it took, the thicker the cloud of mayflies around him grew. They took his wounds, laying their eggs, and doing whatever else mayflies did. Huey continued inhaling the flies into his gut as he carved, and he was finally successful in the removal of his lower jaw. His tongue lolled down obscenely, and was instantly coated in writhing mass of insects. Encouraged, he continued. He made more and more cuts into his body. First shallow, then, once the flies began to accumulate, he went deeper. He began to begin flaying his skin. The insects seemed to be attracted to his subcutaneous fat. Each one that landed on him, and contributed its mass to his own, gave him an infinitesimal sensation of fullness that he had eluded him for so long. A tiny success was still a success. Huey, finally, was on the right track. Minutes passed as he continued the extortion. A passerby would see a pool of blood surrounding bits of skin on the ground, seething with flies, and above it all stood a morbidly obese, human-shaped figure, completely covered by swarming creatures. With his external organs essentially removed and exposed to the flies, he began to work deeper. He opened his gut, spilling his viscera and allowing thousands of insects to fill him. I saw his strength waning as he fell backwards. Flies covered him, inside and out, and Huey's life slipped away. His final moments, however, must have been blissful. The emptiness had been chipped away. It wasn't complete, but it was something he could be proud of. And for the first time in his life, I think he was happy.